Guys, welcome to my first video. Today we're going to be learning how to do this painting right here, which is a spring, kind of a spring tree painting. This is what we're going to do first. I'm just going to show you what it looks like when it's finished so you have an idea. First you're going to get your paper and tape it down, and I just have it taped down to a board like this, which I just bought at Home Depot. If you don't have a board like that, you can use a piece of cardboard that's cut to about the right size. And then I just tape it down with some, you can use painter's tape or masking tape, any kind will work great. I just like it because it peels off easily. All right, then you're gonna get your paint set up. So I've got my just simple praying watercolor set. And so I got my brushes. You'll want a bigger wash brush, one like this, or even a little bit smaller is totally fine. And I have a round brush, and then later we're going to be using just some different sizes. So just have a few different sizes handy. If you have a little squirt bottle, they're nice because you can spray your paints to get them ready. So I just give them a little squirt. Kind of go over a little bit. Mostly I'm going to be using blue, so you can make sure you get that. Maybe a little purple or black, and green and yellow for the grass. I do have this liquid watercolor that I like to use. This is a turquoise color, and I like to put that in the sky, but if you don't have it, that's okay. You can just use your blue. I'm just gonna put a little bit in my tray to use today. All right, so let's start with the first step. I had a little blue on my brush, so just getting some water, and I'm gonna go ahead and just paint this whole background with water. This will make it so that the watercolor paper can take the paint a little bit easier and more fluid. That you'll see that in just a minute. Just make sure you cover the whole thing. Sometimes it's hard to see where you've been, but if you kind of duck your head down a little bit, you can see where it's not wet and you can hit those spots. So you want it wet, but you don't want to like big puddles. You want just kind of a nice even dampness. All right, and then we're going to start putting in our clouds. So if you look at the background of this here, we've got some darker areas and lighter areas where the clouds are going to be. So I'm just going to kind of show you that. So it's good to have some paper towels handy because we're going to be doing some blotting. So make sure you have some paper towels handy. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab some blue. Just kind of load up my brush with some blue here. And you can kind of start wherever you want. I don't know why, but I start at the top sometimes. And if you want to, you can take like something to kind of prop up your board a little bit to help the paint kind of flow. So nothing too big, but like this tape is perfect. And see how the paint kind of spreads out. And so you can kind of decide how you want your clouds to be. So I'm gonna be like, okay, maybe I'll have a cloud up here. You can dip a little bit more water if you want it to kind of spread more. You can even grab that squirt bottle and kind of mist it if you want it to kind of flow a little bit more. It's totally up to you. So I'm just gonna kind of put my color on. You can even flick it, like why not? Get a little crazy there. But see how the color just spreads. It's so pretty to watch. And I like to use the different blue just because I can see different stuff. But if you don't have the other kind of blue, that's okay. You can even get a titch of purple. Put a little purple in there and just see what it does. I had a teacher in college that used to say, let the paint paint. And that's what it's doing right now. Sometimes I can pick it up and kind of get it to move different ways. Maybe I want it to go that way for a minute. Kind of see what happens. Maybe I'll get some more blue and put it in there with that purple. Get some more up here maybe. So I kind of got this big area up here. But I kind of want to break it apart into two clouds, I think. Yeah. Since I put that purple there, I kind of feel like I need to put purple in some other spots too. Kind of balance it out. Kind of put that in there. Maybe I'll put some in here. But you don't need a lot of paint, really, because the sky isn't super, super dark. So I might turn it that way, let it roll. Sometimes you just kind of gotta let the paint move and see where it's going. I could even tilt it back up this way. we're making kind of a stormy spring sky. I might take just a tiny bit of black. Now I always tell my students to be careful with black because it likes to take over. So I'm just kind of getting a tiniest little bit on the corner of my brush. I might even kind of flick it in there so I don't get too much. And just kind of like tap it in a little bit areas because black wants to take over. Like even just that little bit, I just kind of put a little bit to make kind of a stormy sky. And then I just kind of wash off my brush, kind of pat out my paper towel, and then I can kind of move it around a little bit. Maybe I'll add a little bit more blue to it. So I got a little bit of blue, maybe tilt it. Sometimes I'll add water to it while I'm tilting it to make it move a little bit more. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So I never know exactly what's going to happen when I do a sky because the paint kind of decides what's it going to do. So I can take my paper towel and start adding clouds. So this whole sky process, you kind of have to work somewhat quickly. You can't just like leave this for a while, otherwise it'll start to dry. But I might put a cloud here. So I'm actually just getting water and putting extra water right here in this spot and let it sit for just a second. Take my paper towel. I'm actually going to move that tape out. And I'm just going to press it, press it, press it. I'm not rubbing it, I'm just pressing it. And I'm making a little cloud right there. When I added this water, what happens is it kind of helps the paint come up from that area. So I can blot it out a little easier. So I'm just going to kind of add the water there. Sometimes I'll have to do it twice. Like you saw, I had to add it again to get more of that white off. Sometimes you have to find a clean spot, a dry spot of your paper towel. So I kind of look for the clouds that are already there and I kind of accentuate them. Like I'm like, oh yeah, there's one here and I kind of want to pull that one out. And then sometimes when I get these clouds going on and I want them to show up a little bit better, I might take my brush and I can even switch to this round one or I could switch to my smaller one, whichever one worked for you. Might take a little bit more blue and kind of put it like right up under that cloud. Because that way you can really see the whiteness. I might put a little bit above it, I don't know. Kind of add that in there. I'm just kind of patting it. I'm not really brushing. I mean, I can brush it a little bit, but I'm not really painting a lot. I'm not painting hard. Just kind of dabbing it, see? Because the paper is still kind of wet, so the paint is just kind of spreading. So all I gotta do is kind of dab. And clouds are fluffy and soft, and so I don't want to put too much paint. I just kind of want to like add it in there, make it feel that way. I'm gonna wash off my brush, kind of dry it off a little bit, and then take this kind of dry brush and just kind of pull up some of that paint a little bit there. Do it again, maybe. Make some different things happening, because sometimes there's color in the cloud too. So I could bring some of that blue up there, maybe in there. Now down here, I feel like I got kind of a light cloud, so I want to kind of bring that out a little more. I might take a little bit of this purple and mix a little bluish purple over here. Got a little too much purple, but kind of water that down, and then put a little bit of blue and purple over here to kind of bring out that cloud. Kind of, remember I wash off my brush, kind of dry it off, kind of play around with it. And it doesn't have to be, yours is not going to look like mine, because you wouldn't be able to recreate this exactly the way I did it. So you're going to be able to make your own kind of way that you're going to do your own clouds. And you know, you don't have to do too much really with it, because this is going to be your background. Now I might bring down this blue a little bit more down here at the bottom, because I kind of let it fade off a little bit. And make sure you do get paint all the way around, like you're kind of out there. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and start putting in some of the grasses down here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab some of this green. And my paint it's starting to dry a little bit. My paper is dry a little bit, so it's not flowing as much down here, but that's okay. I'm just gonna get that green down there at the bottom. Dry off or wash off my brush, grab some yellow. Because in the spring, the grass isn't so dark green. It's kind of a yellowy green when it starts growing. So I kind of want that yellowy green spring grass. Get that in there. And I'm okay that it kind of floats up. Like that's fine. So kind of go up to where your blue ended, and it can overlap a little bit. That's totally fine. Because yellow and blue make green anyway. So if it goes up there, I have this little bit that's like wanting to go up. If that happens, just wash off your brush, kind of dry it off. And I'm just gonna suck that up a little bit. Or I can do this where I tilt it up again, slide that tape back under there, and that'll keep kind of the gravity pushing that back down again. So it doesn't creep up too much into my sky. Let's see, I have kind of a mixture. I've got yellow and green kind of mixing together. Sometimes in the spring, I feel like there's a little bit of brown showing in the grass. I might put a little brown in spots. So I'm getting some brown, putting some brown in there. And this is a little trick I've shown my students. I'll take a brush and I'll use the end of it, and I'll take this brush and I'll just kind of press it into the paint and make little lines. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of scratching the paper, and it's making like little dents. And the dents are kind of letting the paint settle in those dents. So it's kind of an easy way to make grass without having to do all these tiny little lines with like a teeny little brush. You can just do this right here. I like to do some taller, some shorter. I try not to do them all the same because then it's kind of boring. So that's kind of it. And I can even pick it up a little bit and move it if I feel like the paint needs to travel a little bit. So kind of have fun with it. Yeah. And then this is the part where you have to let it dry. So we're just gonna set this aside, let it dry. You can put it out in the sun. If it's a nice day outside, you can get a hair dryer and blow it dry, or you can just leave it and go take a little break for a little bit. So I actually have one that I made a little bit earlier. So this one's dry and ready to go. I'm actually gonna move that tape. I might put it over on this side, and you'll see why in a minute. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add the tree, okay? And for this tree, I actually used a straw. I actually put the paint and I blew it, and I'll show you how to do that. You can do that, or you can just paint it. So I'll kind of show you both ways. So this is when you're gonna wanna have a little brush handy for like little branches, and a bigger one that you could do for the trunk. All right, so when I get this ready, I'm gonna go, let me get some more squirt in my brown. So I'm gonna use my brown, and I'm just gonna get this brown going. Now, I feel like I didn't just use this brown for this tree. I actually made a bit of a darker brown. So I'm gonna mix up some brown. So hopefully you can see my tray here. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it right here in this. I had a little bit of black in there, and that's totally perfect because I needed some. So sometimes I have to get it in there. Sometimes if I run out of water in there, I could re-squirt it, or I can just dip a little bit in my water, get it in there. So I'm getting a nice, good puddle. So I go back and forth, and kind of fill that up. Wash it off. I'm gonna grab a titch of black. Remember, black likes to take over, so I'm just grabbing a titch of black and mix it up. So I have a nice darker brown. All right, so now you can decide where you want to put your tree. You can put your tree over here like I had with my picture, or I could put it over here. I don't like to put things in the center because I feel like it's kind of boring, so I could put a little bit off center. So maybe for fun for this one, I'm gonna put it over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and let it go all the way to the bottom of the page, but you could have it start up higher if you wanted to. So with the trunk, you just start painting kind of how big you want your trunk to be. Now, when I was a kid, we had lots of fruit trees in my yard, and we had peach trees and apricot trees and apple and cherry, and sometimes the trunks would do different things. Like if you look at this one for my picture again, look how I split that like that. Yeah, I had a peach tree kind of like that, and peach trees have these beautiful pink blossoms, so we're gonna do those too. So you can decide how you want to split it. So maybe when you go along, you could be like, I want it to be like here. Whoops, I kind of went a little bit out. And then you're gonna kind of start with your main trunks. Like maybe I'll have one here, maybe I'll have 3. And you're gonna kind of make a puddle of paint at the end of each one. So I'm kind of scooping up some, putting it on there so it has a good puddle. So this is if you're gonna do the straw. All right, so I'm gonna grab the straw here. I have one of these bendy ones, and I like to just keep it straight because I feel like when I bend it, it like loses its direct power. So I'm just gonna try to keep it straight. So I'm gonna go ahead and blow this. And you can kind of angle it to get it to go kind of where you want to. You can't totally control it, but you can try. Now if you're like, I like how that's going, but if you're like, you know what, I want it to change directions, some things you can do is you can add a little bit. Like I'm gonna go ahead and add a little branch coming out right here. And make a little blob there. And then I'm gonna blow that. I feel like this one over here needs it too. You can blow it really hard and see what happens. Look at that, looks like a creepy skeleton hand. And that kind of gives you an idea of how to kind of get it going with that way. If you're patient and you have a lot of lung capacity, you can keep going with that way. I'm gonna mix up a little bit more brown because I feel like I'm gonna need more. So I may put more brown and black together. Kind of get my puddle going. I actually, see I put too much black, so now I gotta add more brown. There we go. So if you want to switch to your paintbrush and you can add branches this way, you can. I like the straw way because it kind of gives it this sort of cool, unpredictable feel, which is I feel like a lot of, because trees are kind of unpredictable. You can't control how they grow really. So I like the straw method for that. And you can get kind of these knobby looking things. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch to this little brush so I can show you how to add branches with this too. I might have to darken too, like that kind of got a little bit light. So I might have to darken that up a little bit. So I just kind of stretch and grow. I like things to take up space, and so I'm gonna go ahead and stretch some of these up. And then just remember, you start adding extra branches. Like go here's one, break that one, maybe thicken stuff up a little bit. Because most of the thick branches kind of come out towards the center of the trunk, and then they get skinnier as they go up. So you'll just kind of paint that in there. Yeah. Painting trees is fun. What's cool about it is that you can make so many different kinds. And I would totally suggest that you go outside and look at some of your own trees and kind of see how they're growing to give you some ideas on how you may want to shape yours. I like mine to stretch up and grow tall. Now, some of my students, they'll do short trees. And I always tell them, let them grow, stretch it out. Let it take up some space on your page. It's totally fine. Now I might do that for a little bit and then maybe I'll go back to doing it with the straw. So maybe I'll put a little paint there, get some over here. So I'm just kind of like taking my brush and just kind of putting paint down in spots so that I can blow them with the straw in just a second. So kind of getting it in there. Okay, let me grab the straw. Sometimes you gotta move it closer to you. You might even turn it a little sideways. Get some different stuff happening in there. Yeah, so you just keep adding to your tree till you think it looks like it has enough branches. Then you're gonna let this dry. Now, some of you guys bought some of my little art kits, and in the kit, you're gonna see a little plastic container, and what I put in here is some white paint and some pink paint, and we're gonna be using this to create our blossoms. So I kind of want to show you that. And when I did my blossoms on my tree here, I just used a Q-tip to kind of do it. So you can go grab some Q-tips, you can use your little brush if you want to, you can even use the back of your brush if you really wanted to make the little dots. And I've if you look at mine, I've got like dark pink and light pink and kind of white in there. I actually have green in there too. Just because, you know, sometimes there's starting to be leaves on the trees, so you can do that too. So I'll kind of jump to that now just so that you guys can see how to do that. So I've got this little cup here too, and it's kind of mixing, but not totally, but I'm just gonna kind of mix up like a little corner. And this is gonna be my straight pink, so I could come in to start putting little dots. Just kind of putting them on there. They don't have to be right on the branch. They can even kind of go off to the side. Make it just kind of look like it's filling some space there. Now my tree isn't dry yet, so I'd definitely, if I were you, I would let it dry for a few minutes. Stick it outside, get your hair dryer on it. But I just kind of wanted to show you this so that you can turn this video off and get to work on your own. So I kind of put them all over. You can switch to the darker pink. So I didn't mix it up. I only mixed like a little corner up right there. So I could take some of this darker pink I have here and kind of put that in there too. It kind of gives it a little bit of variety. So I kind of have a darker pink, I have a lighter pink. Just looks cool. And some trees are fully in their blossom state, right? And some trees haven't quite yet gotten going yet. So you could decide if you want to have a lot of blossoms, or maybe yours is just starting to blossom. You could even just get plain white, kind of stick it to find just a white spot. And you could stick some white I don't know, just for fun, why not? You could keep going with that. You could wash off your brush. And if you want to get some of that green. Now, this green that we have in your tray is very bright. It might be a little too bright, so I might take it and put it in my mixing tray over here and add a little bit of yellow to it. Kind of messing up my green there. Just to make it that light yellow green like we did for our grass. And you could come in and just put a little bit of, you know, like there's maybe just some little green buds of leaves coming out. So you can kind of go back through and kind of add yours onto there and just have fun with it. So that's basically what it's gonna look like when you get going with it. Until eventually it looks like that. So you can see I definitely added more branches to this one. So I wouldn't give up. I would definitely add more on mine. It looks good, but it could use more, right? So, and then when you're done, you just peel off your tape and you get this beautiful little border on here. And then you're all done. You could show all your friends and family how awesome you did. All right, hope you enjoyed it and have a great day.